Hello, and welcome to this presentation about how to plan your story with CLAPS. With CLAPS. Hat tip to Candace Fleming, who is a historical fiction writer and a writer in general, who came to our school last year and did a workshop with students where she taught them this method. Thank you, Candy. I am using this now as a way to help you plan your writing. So CLAPS stands for character, location, action, problem, and solution. Why use CLAPS? Why even plan a story, right? Why don't you start writing? Well, writing a story can be scary. But if you plan out your CLAPS, then you know where you're going when you start to write. It gives you a direction, makes you feel more confident and secure. But of course, you want to leave yourself room to change your mind or be inspired while you write. This plan is not set in stone. So, number one, character. Who is your protagonist? Who is your character? So you want to ask yourself, what's their age, their gender, their nationality, their appearance, their hopes and fears, their desires, their objectives? What do they want? Many, many, many other questions I couldn't fit on this sheet, but things like what kinds of shoes do they like to wear? And do they like music? Do they like movies? Do they have a crush on anybody? What things drive them crazy? What annoys them? What's their favorite thing to do at the end of the day? Are they an introvert or an extrovert? We could ask a million questions, and you should ask all of those about your character. But this is a good place to start with some basics. Number two, L, location. What is the setting of your story? Now remember, you want to think about the city and country, but you also want to consider the weather, the time of day, the sounds, the smells, the sights, the scents. For example, I can see out my window beautiful trees, really, really tall trees. I'm on the 6th floor, or the 5th floor, but the ground floor, it doesn't get a number. So the 6th floor off the ground, and I'm in treetops. There's a blue sky and clouds. What can I smell? It's the afternoon. The workday is over. There's a certain relaxed feeling, okay? Things like that. Next, number 3 is action. A, action. What is your character doing when the story begins? The story needs to start with action in some way. People need to be doing things. So a character sitting and thinking isn't active enough. A character dreaming isn't active enough either, okay? We want to give your character something to do or make something happen to them. Jump into the action. This is called in medias res, which means in the middle of the action. It could be a small action like brushing a sibling's hair or sweeping a floor, etc. You know what? Right now, I have to fix this. I'm going to fix that apostrophe. You saw it here first, people. Teachers are not perfect. There we go. It could be a small action like brushing a sibling's hair or sweeping the floor or trying to defuse a bomb, but an action. Okay. Next, P, problem. What is the obstacle or problem? Geez, Miss Griswold, you got to proofread your slides before you start. What obstacle or problem does your character face? Okay. Fixing this as I go. I'm not doing another take because, listen, distance learning, man, got to keep it real. What obstacle or problem does your character face? Without conflict or problem, stories are boring. We want to watch a character struggle. Give them a problem they have to face right now. Not a problem in 3 years or tomorrow. A problem right now. Okay? We've learned about conflict. We have internal conflict. That could be the problem. Their own fear. Maybe they have a fear of heights, but they have to walk across a rooftop to escape. That's a real problem. It could be person to person. So a bully is threatening to take their lunch money, but they're very, very hungry. That's a problem. You could have person versus society, right? Maybe this person isn't allowed in a certain area because of their gender, of their race, of their religion, etc. It could also be versus nature. There could be an earthquake. There could be a bomb falling. I know that's not really nature, but I feel like it's a natural event, right? It's an event in the world. Okay. So they need a problem to face. And finally, number 5 is solution. What is your character going to do in this face of this problem? What are they going to do to try to solve it or make it better in some way, even a small way? So solutions sometimes the problem is out of the control of the character. Think coronavirus. Can't control that, right? So I can't solve coronavirus. I haven't invented a vaccine. It would take a year anyways. But the character can think of ways to deal with it on their own, make it less challenging or painful. Sometimes they are actually able to solve the problem, right? If the house is on fire, I could get a fire extinguisher. I could evacuate my family. I could put water on it, or, right? I could do different things. But your character should be active in dealing with the problem in some way, maybe not solving it, but maybe trying to make it better for themselves or more bearable for themselves. No one wants to read about someone just sitting on the ground, sadly. Okay? So the solution can't be to give up or quit. They have to try in some way to either make it better for themselves, to escape it, to solve it, something. Okay? So let's look at this scene from Prisoner B3087 as an example. So here we have Prisoner B3087 by Alan Gratz, the amazing Alan Gratz. I'm going to try to make this window a little smaller. There we go. I can fit now. I'm going to read through this scene for you, and then we're going to plan the claps. We're going to say, what were his claps before he wrote this? Because he may have planned it that way, he may not have, but let's find out. Thump, thump, thump. Someone pounded on our door, and we all jumped. Open up on authority of the Judenrat. Everyone looked to my mother. It was our flat after all. But she just watched the door with big, round eyes. My heart was racing. What should we do? What could we do? Mama, I said. Thump, thump, thump. Open the door, we'll break it down, said another voice, this time in German, a Nazi. Mama, I said, if we don't open up, they'll shoot us. My mother stared at the door. None of the other parents made a move. I had to do something. I hurried to the door and unlocked it, and a German officer and a Judenrat police officer pushed past me down the hall. The Judenrat were the Jews the Nazis put in charge of the ghetto, and they had special police officers. They had special police officers who had to take orders from the Nazis. When we tell you to open the door, the German officer told the adults. The families huddled together, hugging one another tight. Do you have jewels, gold, a radio? He demanded. My mother didn't answer. She just stared at the Nazi and trembled. He was getting madder, I could tell. The officer took a step toward my mother, and I spoke up. In the kitchen, I said. The German turned to look at me with his cold blue eyes, then nodded to the Jewish policeman who carried a sack. Your valuables, the officers said. Now, or you will all be taken away. Someone screamed across the hall. Old Mrs. Immerglick and her family were being dragged away by German soldiers. Her son, a man my father's age, had blood running down his forehead. Give it to them, I yelled. Give them anything they want. The other families in our flat scrambled to give the Nazi officer everything they had squirreled away. Little bits of jewelry, a pocket watch, a handful of zloty. I'm not sure how you say it. The member of the Judenrat came out of our kitchen with his sack stuffed with more than just our radio and went into the bedrooms, looking for anything more of value. The German officer pulled the necklace from my mother's neck and twisted her wedding ring from her finger. She flinched when he did it, but she didn't say a word. This flat can stay, the German officer said, pocketing my mother's jewelry. But next time, open the door more quickly, or we will send you to the east with the rest. Yes, sir. We will, sir, I said. The two men left, and we all stood frozen, listening to the shouts and sobs above us and below us. Out on the streets, two big gray military trucks pulled up, and Jews from our apartment building and all the buildings around us were herded into them by German soldiers. They carried nothing with them. No suitcases, no extra clothes, no food, no personal belongings. Wherever they were going, they would have to do without. Something clattered in the hall outside. The doors to our flat and the Immerglick's apartment were still open. I could see an overturned table and lamp in their flat, but nothing more. Why had the Immerglicks and the families living with them been taken and we hadn't? The officer said it was because we gave them our valuables, but the Immerglicks had a radio and jewelry and zloty just like us. The Germans had taken the Immerglicks for no more reason than that they felt like it. A shot rang out in the street, and we all jumped again. Yannick, Mr. Rosenblum whispered. The door. I glanced at my mother, but she was a million miles away. Her eyes were focused on the rug at our feet, her face empty of emotion. I don't know if she had ever heard the shot. I don't know if she had even heard the shot. I tiptoed down the entrance hall and closed the door, flipping the lock with a click. It didn't make me feel any safer. Okay. Whoa. Okay. So let's think about this for a second. Character, C. Yannick, our protagonist through the whole book, right? He's our guy. He's a 12-year-old boy. He's Jewish. He's bold. He just wants to go back to school. He hates living in the ghetto. He feels crowded in his apartment. He's very worried about the future. His parents are very calm, but his grandfather is very worried. His Uncle Moshe is very worried. He can't figure out what's going to happen. Okay. Location, apartment, right? They're on their door of their apartment there, but what's important is they're also inside the ghetto, a restricted neighborhood where Jewish people were forced to live under the control of Nazis, right? So it's a very scary place to live. They're also living in a crowded apartment with a bunch of other families, right? So there's a lot of people in this apartment, a lot of crowding, a lot of tension, a lot of nervousness. Okay. Action. Someone is banging on the door. Okay. That's a great first action, right? Something is happening to him. And the first thing he does is he opens the door because his mom just stares at him. He doesn't know what to do. I had to do something. I hurried to the door and unlocked it. So something happens to him, and then he takes an action. He opens the door. Okay. P, problem. It's pretty clear what the problem is. Nazis have barged into his house, and they're demanding all of their valuables. That's a problem. There's actually another problem on top of that, which is that his mom is frozen. Everyone is looking to her to know what to do. What should we do? But she's frozen. He's just a kid. She's the one they're all looking to. What does he do? Solution. So I didn't mention this in my presentation because I'm writing very short stories, but usually there's not just one solution. There's a series of solutions. And usually the problem kind of changes. So the first problem is they bang on the door. Solution, open the door. Next problem, they're demanding all their valuables and the mom freezes. So the solution is Yannick says, they're in the other room. They're in the kitchen. He tells them where to find them. Okay. Another problem, neighbors are screaming and getting attacked. Solution, Yannick yells to them, give them whatever they want, right? So we have a kind of a problem solution back and forth. Your story may have one problem and one solution. That's okay. This is a longer scene than you might write. You might write one this long. It's up to you. But this one kind of goes back and forth, problem solution. Try one thing, it gets a little worse. Try something else, another problem is generated, okay? So here's what I put together for my last slide. So we have, let's plan it backwards. Character, Yannick, 12-year-old Jewish boy. Location, a ghetto in Poland after the Germans have invaded. His apartment shared with many other Jewish families. Action, someone bangs on the door. Problem, the Nazis want their valuables, but his mother has frozen. And solution, Yannick decides to step up and tell them where the valuables are. Okay? So this has been your lesson on CLAPS, character, location, action, problem, setting. Thank you, Candace Fleming, the amazing, the illustrious. And this little lesson has been a chance for you to learn about this way to plan a short story. Your job now is to go to the Google form that I have linked on the slides and fill out your CLAPS for your story. Okay, so that I can see them and help sort of workshop with them with you. And we can also help you plan out your story that way. Okay, happy brainstorming and planning.